Today, we're diving into one of the biggest, ugliest injustices in human history, slavery. And we're going to look at two totally different ways people fought back. Is it better to try and fix a broken system from the inside, or do you just have to burn the whole thing down? We're going to explore that through the lives of two incredible people.
I mean, really think about it. If you saw something that was profoundly, deeply wrong, what would you do? Would you try to work within the rules to change things? Or would you decide, nope, the rules themselves are the problem, and tear it all down?
And those are the two paths we're looking at. On one hand, you've got persuasion, politics, and changing the law. On the other, you've got revolution, force, and building something totally new from the ashes. Both strategies were aimed at the exact same monstrous evil.
Okay, so before we meet our two freedom fighters, we have to get our heads around what they were facing. And this wasn't just, a bad policy. This was a massive global economic engine that was literally fueled by human suffering.
The scale of it is it's hard to even process. We're talking about millions of people stolen from their homes, their families shattered, their entire futures just erased, all for a brutal trade that spans centuries.
And right at the heart of this whole horrific system was a journey called the Middle Passage. And the conditions on these ships, they were a nightmare. People were packed in so tightly, treated like cargo, so many never even survived the trip.
So how on earth do you even start to fight something like that? Well, our first guy, Wilberforce, he chose to fight it from the inside, from a position of power, right inside the British Parliament.
Wilberforce was a leader in the abolitionist movement, and that's just a word for people who are actively trying to abolish, or end, slavery. For him, this wasn't just some opinion he had, it was an active, non-stop campaign to make slavery illegal.
He wasn't fighting with swords, though. His weapons were words, laws, and public opinion. He'd give these incredible, powerful speeches. He organized huge petitions that thousands of people signed. And he just kept pushing, year after year, even when all the rich merchants who were profiting from slavery tried to shut him down.
And you can just hear the fire in his own words. For Wilberforce, this wasn't just about the victims of slavery. He was arguing that this infernal traffic was poisoning the very soul of Britain itself.
All right, now we're going to do a complete 180. We're leaving the halls of Parliament and heading to the Caribbean. Because while Wilberforce was fighting with words, our second figure, Toussaint Louverture, was leading an armed revolution.
And that is the huge difference. A revolt isn't about asking for change, it's about seizing it. It's a direct and often violent challenge to the people in charge.
Louverture's story is just incredible. He knew exactly how brutal slavery was because he was born into it. He wasn't some politician in a fancy suit. He was a formerly enslaved man who rose up to become a brilliant military general and the leader of a nation. And the result of his fight literally changed the world. The Haitian Revolution is still the only truly successful large-scale slave revolt in history. Think about that. An army of formerly enslaved people took on the powerful armies of France, Spain, and Britain, and won. They created their own independent nation, Haiti.
So, there you have it. Two guys fighting the same enemy, but with completely opposite game plans. Let's put them side by side, pen versus sword, and see how it all breaks down.
It really is that stark when you lay it out. You've got the politician versus the general, political campaigns versus armed revolution, the fancy halls of power versus the bloody fields of battle. Two men from two completely different worlds taking on the exact same enemy.
So, the big question, did these totally different approaches actually work? What did they really accomplish in the end? Let's take a look at the impact they had on the world.
And the answer is, yeah. Both paths led to absolutely monumental victories. Wilberforce's decades of fighting finally paid off, and slavery was legally abolished across the entire British Empire. In Louverture's revolution, it created Haiti, the very first independent black republic in the world, a beacon of freedom. And that's really the core of it, isn't it? One man fought to change the laws of the system. The other fought to just destroy that system and build a brand new one. But in the end, both of their strategies were powerful enough to shatter something the world thought was completely unbreakable. Which leaves us with this final thought. Both of these paths required unbelievable sacrifice. One path was written in the ink of laws and petitions, the other was written in the blood of a revolution. It makes you wonder, when you're faced with an absolute evil, what really is the price of justice?